You knew, you knew, you knew, you knew. You knew, you knew, you knew, you knew. Had it, baby, and I long for the voodoo. Whoa, crazy, crazy. Let me get inside your mind. Let me have your soul.
Yeah, back like we never left. You tuned in to another cold case of the Voice of Reason podcast with your host, Rob Reason, the General. If you don't know me, here I go. Yeah, I had to get warmed up for this one, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Had to get in my little groove, you feel me? Shout out to Haiti Baby out of Stockton. I like little bruh, man. Little cat is different and got his own little swag and a dope energy about him. So, yo, shout out to that guy, man. Y'all go check his music out. I like him. But anyways, we about to go back into some Vallejo history. And when I say Vallejo history, I don't mean I ain't talking about regular Vallejo history. Like, we ain't talking about the Zodiac Killer. We ain't talking about the closure of the naval base. We ain't talking about Sly, Family Stone, Confunction. We ain't talking about that. We talking about Mr. Vallejo himself, Mr. Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo, also known as General Vallejo, founder of this little itty bitty city that we out here claiming and going hard for. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting episode to hear, you know, how it all break down, how it all started, and how Vallejo was created. So yeah, we gonna go all the way back. You know, it's a lot of things we need to address currently, but I don't remember hearing, you know, many people kind of speak on the origins of how this all began. And so we go just kind of go all the way back, start over, so we can get a better understanding of how this shit was even laid. You know, sometimes, you know, history repeats itself, first of all. So sometimes you got to know where you come from in order to know, to understand rather, where you at today, and to get a better idea of where you go move forward. So we gonna go back, all the way back. We talking about Mr. Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo. Here we go. Before we just jump into the man himself, let's go back a little bit before General Vallejo, before he even came into existence. And let's talk about the native origins of Vallejo and the surrounding areas, Solano County, and you know, all the way up Northern California. Well, the whole California, for that part, at one time was all native lands. And you can also, you have time, go ahead and Google it up and look up the native California maps. They have old maps that kind of show what tribes were in which areas, and it's all broke down in the same way that the counties are right now, how they separated and stuff, and it just shows which tribe belonged to what areas. And in our region, Vallejo, Fairfield, San Rafael, Sonoma, Clear Lake area, Eureka area, and all that area was all Miwoks, Susunis, Patwins, excuse me if I'm saying these names wrong, Pomo, just to name a few, but they were all native Indian tribes that was inhabiting this land, okay? And when I say Indians, I mean real deal tribal native Indians. I'm talking teepees. I'm talking the feather headdresses. I'm talking real Indians. Okay, they was already here. Here in Vallejo, when you look at the map, it shows that the tribes that kind of was in this area were the coastal Miwoks. And then, of course, you had the Susunis and stuff. That's what they named Susun after and stuff like that. So, yeah, straight up native land, all indigenous people. Shout out to Kim De Acampo and OG Uncle Wounded Knee, because some of those that bloodline is still out here. It's still some of the families of that bloodline and some of those tribal bloodlines that's still out here. Very few, but they some of them are still out here. So much respect to them, and this just learning this history gave me a whole different outlook and respect for the foundation of Vallejo and for the natives of this land. So respect to the natives and respect to all the indigenous people of the land that we sit on now. It's crazy because back then it was like war. So what we living on is a war zone. If you really think about it, if you could step into your backyard right here in Vallejo or Fairfield area, and you could easily be standing over a battlefield where natives and many lives was lost. And a lot of these battles is documented on Google. If you look them up, they're reported all over little areas. One that kind of interested me was a story about one of the tribes out in Susun Fairfield area. They was going back and forth with, I don't know if it was the Mexican Republic or if it was the United States at that time, but they was going back and forth, trying to protect their land, refusing to leave. And when they knew that they was defeated, when they knew it was a no-win situation, instead of them subduing and coming to the mercy of the next man's power, they just decided to have a mass suicide. They all just took themselves out right there. Damn. So a lot of that spirit is out here, man. This is like a lot of that blood and spirit of struggle and war, man, is out here. So I just wanted to let that be known first, that this is native land. Eventually, Vallejo and this northern area of California was conquered by Spain. So, and it was even rumored that General Vallejo, some of his ancestors, let me see my notes. One of his ancestors served under Hernan Cortez, and an admiral whose name was Alonso Vallejo was said to be the commander of a ship that brought Columbus back to Spain as a prisoner way back in like 1500s. So that's how deep this go. Eventually, California was all Mexico, with the exception of the Carquinez Strait, which basically runs you into Vallejo and all of this area that we in over here. That was one of the last territories that the Indians and the native people was able to kind of protect and kind of hold on to. And that's a funny story too. And let me just show you how crazy stuff is. It was reported that they could have lasted a longer time than they did, just tucked off in this area doing their thing. But after a while, they decided that they were, go out, and they was going out to rescue runaway natives from, other regions, and most of them were turned Christians, so they were Indian Christians. When they brought them back to the Vallejo Fairfield area, it just was a bunch of conflict, and it just caused divide between the Indians and where it go from there. From there, it's infiltration and spies, and it just went downhill. So eventually, all that was starting to be ruled by Mexico. It was the Mexico Republico at that time, in California. So they were going back and forth trying to establish rule over the area, the last remaining area of California. So it was basically going back and forth between the Mexicans and the Indians. So that's going to lead us back up. Let's fast forward back up a little bit and get to Mr. General Vallejo. lot of questions about when his actual birthday was, but it is reported that he could have been born on the 4th of July in 1807. Um, he was a California general, statesman, and public figure born as a subject of Spain, right? So we talked about how Spain pretty much had this land back then, so he was pretty much from that lineage. Um, he performed military duties such as an officer of the Republic of Mexico. He was born in Monterey, and we talked about how he had ancestors that went all the way back and was connected to even Christopher Columbus and his voyages out here and stuff like that. So after the Mexican independence, the government of California, Luis Arguello, he enrolled Vallejo to and basically made him what is equivalent today in the army as a second lieutenant. And in 1829, Vallejo led a group of soldiers against the Miwoks, forcing the tribe to flee to Mission San Jose and seeking refuge with the Padres after a 3-day battle. So that's a little bit about who, how he came onto the scene. So, like we talked about his ancestors and stuff, Vallejo was born of, high-ranking bloodline as far as the military. His family was in high positions and they was well respected within the Mexican Republic. So he had a little land, he had a little money, and that pretty much was his mindset. He was a capitalist. He was an opportunist. He wanted to make some money. He was trying to position himself in this land as an elite. So that's pretty much was his whole goal. So when they granted Vallejo, after that battle, when he lead some of the Miwoks out of here, they granted him some land, and this how shiesty he was from the beginning. They ordered him to give so many acres of this land, which is now we're talking about Sonoma area. We in Sonoma right now. They granted Vallejo some land in Sonoma. Part of that deal was he was ordered to give so many acres to the natives of that area, which he did initially. But after a while, he ended up doing some old trickery shit like capitalists and, these motherfuckers do. And he tricked them right back out of their land. So that's when he started building his compound and pretty much started enslaving the Indians in that region who were the Susunis. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And this is the trick they play on words, because it's not gonna say that he enslaved these natives if you read it in the books, but if you know how to read between the lines and you use your own mind, it's clear to understand and see that he pretty much enslaved these people. Okay, it talks about how he basically had them do all the labor and do all the work and pretty much build his little empire, his plantation. He pretty much ran a plantation. That's what that was in Sonoma, with native slaves. And me putting two and two together, it says in there that he paid these Indians. They try to make it sound good, and they try to put a little icing on it and a little sugar on top and say that he employed these natives, but it don't say he paid them money. It say he paid them with shelter and with food. Now that's where the trick on words come in, right there, because like I said, natives already been here. It was said that the natives probably was here like 4,000 years or something before they even came or whatever. So that mean they already was living good. Like I said in the beginning, these was TP Indians, so they had their own lifestyle. They was healthy. They was hunters. They were tribal. They knew how to survive, and they got along surviving all those years doing it the way that they did it. So why all of a sudden when some guy pop up out of nowhere and he want to start building a different style house and eating different kind of meals and shit, and he go convince y'all that, okay, you could come live over here and just help me build my shit? Nah, it didn't work like that. That man pretty much slaved them, and he pretty much held them captive what it sounded like to me. And he, made sure he fed them and kept them healthy enough to keep their asses working. That's all that was. Now, let's get back into the story of it. So, like I said, these are the Susunis that he was dealing with. So he pretty much got them in line, right? And one of the Susunis that he favored was who came to be known as Chief Solano. He was then, his name was Semiedo. He was one of the chiefs of the Susunis during this time. So it sounds like to me like this was the token native for General Vallejo. So General Vallejo house niggered him up, pulled him in, taught him different languages and stuff because General Vallejo knew several languages, including French and Latin and all kind of stuff. So he pretty much, you know, colonized, put him in that mind frame, that colonized mind frame that gave him that mindset. He reprogrammed him and set him up to be his partner. So what General Vallejo and Semiedo then set out to do was to go around to the other surrounding areas. This is how they come down to Vallejo area, so that they can so-called get treaties and talk the other Indians into pretty much put your arms down, put your weapons down, just go along with the flow, go along with what we're doing. It's gonna be good for y'all. This is better for us all. Trust me, it's gonna be much better. Yada yada yada. Don't fight us back. Don't try to fight for the land. We coming in here. Either y'all go do it peacefully or these motherfuckers go come in here taking heads. So that's what that was about. So they got some of them to do treaties and to just kind of fall in line, but it was a lot of the natives at the time that was still pretty much rebelling against that shit. And yes, it was cases where Vallejo and them had to slaughter and massacre, whole Indian families and tribes, to get them up out the way because they was about conquering some land. That's what it was all about, straight up and down. So yeah, that's what they did. So they pretty much got everybody to flee. Whatever little Indians was left, they fled the area and stuff, and then they were able to pretty much establish Mexican rule over these areas also. But now Uncle Sam steps in, right? Now America wants this land. They want this piece of land. So they started running what you call back in them days a Texas style takeover, and it wasn't called that, but that's pretty much what it was. So many words, a Texas style takeover, where they coming in and just take this shit over. We coming in, we bringing our muskets and shit, our cannons, and we coming in here knocking shit down because we want it. That's what was about to happen. Now at this point, General Vallejo knew he couldn't, go up against that. And when the Americans first came in to basically overthrow the Mexicans or whoever was in the land that thought they was running it at the time, he invited the motherfuckers in. Oh yeah, come on in, man. Well, how about y'all have a meal? Come sit down. Let's talk about this for a minute. Let's sit here and let's have a talk. What can I do to make this right? They straight up was on some takeover shit, so they like, motherfucker, you supposed to be this general dude or whoever in this Mexican army, motherfucker. We arresting you, taking you in, straight up. This is when the real soul of the man came out, talking about General Vallejo. Because at this point it was like, well, I don't want to go to jail, and I tell you what, I'll give you everything I got. I'll give you this land here. I got this much in the bank. I got this much saved up. Oh, and this many slaves. You can have it all if you just spare me and my family. That's the kind of shit he got on, real coon shit. So they ended up arresting him. He did a few months or whatever. But eventually, I guess they ended up taking him in on this deal, right? And I'm sorry, I skipped something because all this him going to jail and stuff happened after the Bear Flag revolt. That's what they called that, the Bear Flag revolt, and that was pretty much all that symbolized the Americans coming in, Texas style takeover. So, like I said, that's what that's called, just to kind of give y'all some reference points if you want to take your own time to go look it up. These is some of the reference points that you can start with. So let me get back to where I was at. Yeah. So they ended up arresting him, right? He got out within a few months, and when he came back, when he came out, he pretty much stuck to his word. He gave him some land, he gave him money, he gave him whatever. And to even go a step further, he burned his fucking uniform, his Mexican uniform. He burned the Mexican flag and all that shit to pledge his allegiance to America and to show them that he was going to be a good boy. And you know what they did? They said, all right, he was a good boy. You know what we're going to do? We're going to let you have this land. You can call this here land. You can name it after yourself. And here we have Vallejo. And Benicia is named after his wife. Initially, when he was first uh, planning and getting his thoughts and stuff together to start Vallejo the area, he was about to name it Eureka. So Vallejo actually was about to be called Eureka, but for some reason they decided not to or whatever. They just named it after him. And after him, after Vallejo, what's this dude? John B. Frisbee. That's who he pretty much handed the torch to. And John B. Frisbee is the one that ultimately mapped out Vallejo, named the streets, and decided to name them after different states and all that. So that's when he came into play. And to go back to Simiedo, during the time that they were arresting General Vallejo, it was said that Simiedo, he fled. He got away somewhere, so don't nobody know what happened to him. But it is rumored that Simiedo, Chief Solano, was buried over there where the community college is, where Solano Community College is. There's even little myths and spooky rumors going around that his ghost has been seen to be there. So yeah, you see all the pictures, and when they show Simiedo, it's not a lot of pictures of Simiedo. I found one. But not many pictures of Simiedo, but they depict him as a straight up Indian. If you trip on the Solano County logo, if you trip off of the even the college logo, the chieftains, it's all Indian headrests and all that. And that's a little bit of a controversial issue because it was said that during the end they was trying to be white men, so they wasn't looking like that. They was walking around with damn suits and shit. And I got a picture I'll show y'all right here, General Vallejo, where he looked like a straight up Yankee with top hat on and shit. He looked like a straight American Yankee. So they was just gonna go wherever the dollar was for them. So that's pretty much what Vallejo was built on. It was built on trickery. It was built on murder. It was built on all that shit. And it's crazy because that's the same shit that's going on today. Straight up. You got the gentrifiers and the elitists and the capitalists. They trying to come move in, and we still got our Vallejo natives out here that's trying to hold on. We fighting, surviving, making a way, hanging on. And what they doing is they coming out here and they picking their different Simiedos, and they convincing them that, hey, If you could convince the rest of them that, what, by just following the script, going along with this, and getting them to believe and subscribe into this system that we're going to do this and that. This go bring more economics. This go bring woo. And if you do that, you good. We're going to make sure you can run your business. We're going to make sure you can do your real estate thing. We're going to make sure that, we're going to make sure you take care of. And that's what a lot of them do. They go along with it. They give them what they want. They give them the votes they need on council and all that so that they can protect their own interests, because the good old boys is coming in. They want this land now. They got plans for this land. So they trying to drive us out. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I said, history repeats itself. And when you go into the history of this shit, it's a trip. It's a real trip. For real. So, like I said, man, Vallejo is a burial ground, like all the way from the hills and stuff in the back, like Columbus Parkway, and over there by Glen Cove area. Actually, like I said, the indigenous people that's still here, and I can't think of, I don't want to say no name because I don't want to upset nobody or say nothing wrong, but they just got done, not too many, within recent years, just got done fighting against the city to protect that burial land over there in Glen Cove. So, yeah, it's natives buried all the way from the hills behind Columbus Parkway, behind Blue Rock Springs and stuff, going all the way down up towards Glen Cove by the water and stuff like that. So that's all native ancestors over there. And this land that we living on, your house where your plot is, was once probably a teepee sitting there. And when you walk or take your walk around the corner, walk your dog, or walk to school or whatever, you could easily be walking over somewhere where an Indian's head was chopped off, or where a bloody battle took place. So I do very much believe that it's like a spiritual curse hovering over this land, and research leads to more research. So I just wanted to kind of go back a little bit, get grounded, and kind of understand, how we even got here to this point. And when you put two and two together, it's like a complete mind fuck, for me at least, because it's like nothing is what it seems. When we was in school, they used to teach us about General Vallejo, but they championed the man. We used to go up. I don't know if that was in Sonoma or did you have a house in Sacramento, but I know I've been to a couple field trips to his house or different places where he did things at or lived or whatever. They don't teach you this part of the history. It's a lot of history about our ancestors and the history of, the founding of this country and everything else, and that they don't teach. So, but that's up to you to go do that research. And once you start doing research on one thing, that research leads to another research. That opens up the door to another lane, another avenue, another, it keeps opening up. And I just been soaking it up right now. So, yeah, voice of reason, man. We go put some reason into this shit. Shout out to all the native ancestors, man, from Vallejo. All the ancestors that lost their lives. We go keep it moving. Next episode, I wanted to talk about the Blue Lives Matter and all that shit with Shawnee Williams. He was flying the Blue Lives Matter flag on a viral pic that was viral not too long ago. And then council member Areola called him out at a council meeting and asked him about the Blue Lives Matter, how he felt about that. And the way he answered, he didn't really answer it. So we go pick up from there on the next episode and kind of talk about that, amongst other things. Like I said, I got Auntie Angela Sullivan, spokeswoman, rather, for the family of Rodnell Cat Daddy Foster. I got my brother Prince Royal III, Prince Royale, that is, not Royal, Royale, is going to be with me. He's going to be a reoccurring guest on the show, but we just getting it warmed up, getting it ready, and we on our way. We up and moving. Voice of reason. Holla.